So this is the Cherokee Nation Village, or the Village for short. It's an amusement park that I built in my yard. I started it over in this area in 2009, and by 2013 it grew down to the creek and just kind of kept growing from there. It was a great place to bring friends over and just have some bonfires. That's our main event, and you know, it's just a great place to have a good time. We learned about Native Americans and that they lived in teepees, so I built one when I learned that I'm part Cherokee and Lenape, and that was my thought process when I was, you know, 12, and it just kind of grew from there and just kind of kept going and going, and you know, now it's a full-blown acre amusement
Years
park.
ago,
So this place, believe it or not, used to be haunted. We had a bunch of different like ghosts, like disturbances. My friends would hear voices in here. So naturally, like any other, you know, 14 or 15-year-old would do at the time, we made fun of them and we dressed up in ghost costumes and did this thing called the Haunted Woods Trail. Anyways, so by dressing up in costume, that really only kind of aggravated the disturbances that were here, and throughout the years following that, it was just off the charts, especially in 2017. Some of my friends would leave with like scratches on their arms. When I was digging, I found the remains of a dog that someone left here decades ago, and after I found the remains, a couple of my friends who were able to see, like, you know, spirits and stuff, started seeing a dog and a little girl and a little boy and an older man dressed in like 1800s clothing, like just out of the corner of their eye. People have reported all different kinds of disturbances, and it started to affect me. It made me really depressed, and it was weird. It went on for years, and early last year before COVID hit, we actually had the priest from my church come over, and they did an exorcism with like 3 or 4 different people, and ever since then, I haven't heard a single thing. So I don't know what you want to take away from that, but it was definitely a weird experience. Originally, I built it in 2017, but it kind of got old, so we tore it down and rebuilt it. So just watch carefully, don't trip on a rock or anything. It's still being worked on yet, so if you come up, I would only stand where the beams are here. It is pretty sturdy though. I mean, we just started doing this yesterday, and it's gonna eventually, when it's done, there'll be a roof on it. You know, we have the materials and stuff there behind you, and then I have a couple of my friends who they play guitar. We have, like, if we set up a small drum kit in the back. One of my degrees from LCC is music recording technology, so I know how to set up all that equipment and, you know, get everything. I have a full PA system because I'm also a DJ, so I bring all my equipment down here and I'll set the speakers up. And then there's 2 fire pits, so I'll have fires going in both pits. There's a beach, there's a bowling alley, there's a couple of rides. It's really a good time on a Friday night. So basically, I have the village divided into like districts, and it helps me just maintain like where I want to put money, or when I'm going to work. I'm saying, oh, I'm going to work in this district or that. And this area here is called the Oneonta District. I named it after the hotel that used to be at the lake, and the creek too. I refer to it as Oneonta Creek. Officially, it doesn't have a name, but I gave it that name because when I started developing this, I was, you know, digging into the lake's history for the first time, so the name just kind of stuck. So there are a few different places around here that are inspired by Harveys Lake, so there is kind of a link to it. I was really disappointed back in December of last year when they tore the roller skating rink down, so I grabbed as much wood as I could. It was the floor for the skating rink, and my friend Rich and I actually put this together over the winter. He helped me with some of the, you know, the cutting and fitting the boards together and stuff, but I got the idea just, you know, pondering how I could help preserve the skating rink, because I was really sad to see it go, and especially since it was the last of the Hanson's buildings, I didn't want it to slip into the past like most of the lake's history has. So I thought that making a model of the building from its heyday would be a perfect way to help preserve it, because then it will always be there and they can't knock it down.
So what kind of things are unique about this model here?
Well, for one, I don't know of any other models of any buildings to exist at Harveys Lake, so I would say it's the only model of any building at Harveys Lake. What makes it interesting just from the other Hanson's buildings is that this one is the one that was out over the lake. A lot of people think that it was fully over the lake, but it wasn't entirely. The land came up a little bit under the middle, and it was only this back half that actually hung out. So most of it was actually on land, but it was kind of iconic because everyone thought, oh yeah, that was the one that was out over the lake. It was built on the cribbing from the old steamboat launch, because the steamboats used to come up and people would load up here and then they'd go out on the lake. But once the steamboats kind of were in decline in the 30s, they built this building in its place, and it was there ever since until they tore it down last year.
Do you know when the steamboat started?
The steamboats basically through like the 1880s, really, and then they really picked up in the 1890s, and they ran until the Great Depression because people had their own cars by then and they couldn't really afford to keep going, so they kind of shut down in 1933. It was around then. It's when the Lake Transit